New at 10 tonight, we are hearing from the family of a young mother who was gunned down 3 months after giving birth to premature twins.
My daughter did not deserve this, and I want the killer to go to jail forever.
She was really happy to be a mom. She went all out. She was really proud of girls, too. That's what she really wanted, was girls. She got her dream.
In the early morning of June 15, 2021, a young mother's life took a sudden, heart-wrenching turn. Crystal Crockett, a new mom of twins from Bronzeville, Chicago, had just spent a beautiful day with her little miracles. She held her twin girls, born prematurely just 3 months ago, their tiny fingers wrapped around hers. Crystal's eyes were filled with love as she stared at her precious daughters, cherishing every moment. She played with them, cradling their fragile bodies, and whispered her hopes and dreams into their tiny ears. It was a day filled with hope and bonding, the kind every parent dreams of. Little did Crystal know that the world would soon unravel around her, shattering her dreams and leaving a community in shock. Who could have committed such a heinous act in this peaceful town? Was it a random act of violence, or did Crystal know her killer? Let's explore the story of Crystal Crockett, the young woman killed by her boyfriend after she birthed twins.
Tonight, her boyfriend is charged with murder, and the baby girls are still in the hospital without their mother by their side.
Our story takes us to the quiet and picturesque town of Bronzeville, Chicago. Living in Bronzeville, Chicago is a unique experience that offers a blend of history, culture, and a strong sense of community. This neighborhood, located on the south side of Chicago, has a rich and dynamic character that has evolved over the years, developing with modern times while still maintaining what makes it truly special. Bronzeville is a relatively peaceful town with a low crime rate, especially when compared to other towns in the U.S. It was the kind of place where most people knew each other, as most families had lived there for generations. The kind of place where everyone said hi, and you could always find help if you needed it. Nestled in the heart of this close-knit community was 21-year-old Crystal Crockett, a beloved mother of 2, and a radiant presence in the lives of her friends and family. In this seemingly ordinary place, Crystal's story was far from typical. As we dive into her life, we'll uncover the layers of this enigmatic woman, the unknown influences that shaped her, and the hidden truths that may have led to her tragic fate.
Prosecutors say the father of the babies, 31-year-old Elijah Clifford, shot Crystal in cold blood in an alley at 45th and Wabash.
June 14, 2021 was an ordinary day, just like the ones that had come before in the last 2 months of Crystal Crockett's life. In March, she had given birth to twins, much earlier than anticipated, and this unexpected turn had made her journey into motherhood both exciting and filled with anxiety. These premature arrivals had brought her to the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, NEQ, at the Rush University Medical Center in Chicago. For Crystal, it was a place of contradictions, a source of concern, and a beacon of hope. The fear of uncertainty had gripped her as she had gone into labor well before her due date. The thoughts of her baby's survival had haunted her, but her unwavering determination to see them thrive motivated her to keep going. From the very moment she learned she was expecting twins, her heart had been set on them. The twins were not just a part of her future, they were her future. She had carefully planned for their arrival, picturing a life filled with laughter, love, and the joy of watching her children grow.
She was really happy to be a mom. She went all out. She was really proud of girls, too. That's what she really wanted, was girls. She got her dream.
The NICU had become her second home, a place where her newborns were fighting their own battles in tiny, fragile bodies. Crystal's daily visits were more than a routine. They were a scary journey she dedicated herself fully to. Each day held the promise of progress, each visit a chance to witness the small miracles that unfolded as her twins grew stronger. On that sunny morning of June 14th, as Crystal woke up and began her daily chores, the air was filled with both familiarity and anticipation. She knew the twins couldn't come home yet, but every day was a step closer to that. Her twins were in the NICU, and as she prepared herself for the day, she carried the weight of their uncertain journey on her shoulders. Yet, within this routine lay the potential for joyful moments. The NICU, with its beeping monitors and dedicated medical staff, was a place where resilience was tested. It wasn't easy seeing them hooked to all those monitors, but she couldn't give up. Every beep of the machines, every tiny victory, and every setback were a part of their journey, and she was there for all of them, praying for the day she could finally see them without all the tubes and wires. Little did Crystal know, while the twins would get to experience that day, she would never get to. Her daily visits weren't ordinary moments. They were her chance to communicate with her children, whispering words of encouragement, singing lullabies, and holding them close, providing the warmth and comfort that only a mother could. She watched them struggle and succeed, a testament to their strengths. Crystal was scared of what things would be like when the twins came home, but she brushed that aside, deciding to focus on her children. They were the ones who needed her the most. Crystal got to the NICU and her day looked up. Her smile was brighter. She was always happy to see the girls. Every visit was a testament to the unbreakable bond between a mother and her children. She celebrated the small victories and braced herself for the challenges that lay ahead, hoping that as long as she showered the twins with love, they would continue to grow. Thankfully, Crystal didn't have to go through the journey alone. She was surrounded by a support system of caring family and friends. Their presence alone was very comforting and gave her the strength to keep going when things got really tough. However, within this circle of support, there was one person whose presence wasn't comforting to Crystal. In fact, his presence sent her into automatic defense mode. Her boyfriend and the father of her twins, Elijah Clippard. Their relationship had been strained for some time, and the arrival of their twins only added more tension to their lives. Crystal was very worried about what was to come. She felt like the twins coming home might make things worse between her and Elijah, but she wasn't sure, and that uncertainty scared her. She didn't like not knowing, and she didn't like not feeling like the twins would be safe, but she made a conscious decision to put her worries on the back burner, choosing instead to focus on her girls. The twins needed her more than ever, and her maternal instincts fueled her determination to be the best mother she could be. Walking into the NICU became the daily highlight of Crystal's life. Every time she set eyes on her precious daughters, her smile transformed into a radiant beacon of love and hope. Each visit wasn't just a routine, it was a profound testament to the unbreakable bond between a mother and her children. Crystal celebrated every small victory the twins had, from minor milestones to promising signs of progress. It was a journey marked by challenges, but she strongly believed that her love would be the driving force that would nurture her twins. After a full day spent with the girls, Crystal prepared to go home, and Elijah came to pick her up. She kissed her girls goodbye as she always did, but unlike every other day, she spent a few more minutes watching them. She had the desperate urge to pick them up, hold them tight, and never let go. She had no idea why she felt that way, but the feeling was so strong that it took her more than a few minutes to convince herself to walk out of the door. After all, she would be back to see them the next day. But unbeknownst to Crystal, she would never get to hug or kiss her girls again. On the morning of the next day, Crystal was nowhere to be found. She had not come in early as she used to, and her family could not get through to her. The authorities were alerted to what they thought was a disappearance, but after it was reported that a young woman had been murdered and abandoned in a car, her family's hearts shattered. Crystal Crockett was gone. Investigation into her murder would reveal shocking details, rocking the close-knit community.
She's a bright soul. Crystal, wow. I can't believe I'm even doing this right now. Crystal is an awesome person. I talked to her a couple hours right before everything had happened.
Crystal Crockett was born and raised in Bronzeville, Chicago, a place where history and culture converge in a captivating blend. This neighborhood, often described as the heart of African American culture and heritage, was once renowned as the city's black metropolis. Today, it continues to cherish its storied past while thriving in the present. In the 1950s, Bronzeville was a vibrant hub, boasting bustling commercial districts, thriving music spaces, and a community of intellectuals and social activists. But its allure doesn't stop with its past. Modern-day Bronzeville proudly carries the torch of its historical significance as a hub of gospel, jazz, blues, and civil rights music. The small neighborhood is a visual feast as well, decorated with breathtaking Victorian architecture and 19th century houses that tell the stories of the times before this. Yet Bronzeville is not just a place to admire from the outside, it's a living, breathing community with a charm and character all its own. The people who live in Bronzeville enjoy a wide range of experiences. Coffee shops filled with a rich aroma of freshly brewed beans, restaurants that invite you to savor delicious food, galleries showcase the work of local artists, this, libraries that house a wealth of knowledge, and monuments standing as silent witnesses to the past. Bronzeville is a living, breathing testament to the legacy of African American culture and the civil rights movement, making it a place where history and culture are always at the forefront. Most families that live here love it for that very reason, and so did the Crocketts. Crystal and her family love the culture-filled and tight-knit community that is Bronzeville. People looked out for each other there. It was home for them. Crystal grew up in a relatively small family with 3 siblings. She was the second oldest sibling, but somehow the most maternal. She just had this caring and generous spirit and always wanted to take care of people. She was described by her family as compassionate, thoughtful, and selfless, the kind of person who would constantly place everyone else before herself, never thinking twice about making herself uncomfortable to make other people happy. Crystal was also a people person. She enjoyed going out, meeting people, and connecting with them, but at the same time, she also loved her alone time. She was respectful and kind to everyone around her. She loved everyone and treated them like they were family. People were very valuable to Crystal, and she believed everyone should be given the benefit of the doubt. She was an introvert who cherished the time she spent with her thoughts, making plans for her future. One of those plans was to be a nurse. She couldn't wait to be a nurse. She loved learning about how she was going to help people. The best part about nursing for Crystal, other than getting to save lives, was getting to connect with people. She was aware that in this big world, people can feel lost, and she wanted to be the one to hold their hands and learn about their stories so they know they matter in the world. Crystal was passionate about caregiving in general. To prepare for her career as a nurse, Crystal took care of both of her grandparents when they were sick.
She loved taking care of people. She loved taking care of my grandmother. She worked as a home health aide for my grandfather before he passed, and she just loved her job.
She took care of her grandmother before she died, and when her grandfather got sick, Crystal immediately stepped into the role of caregiver. She loved the job because she got to practice what she loved and spend time with her grandfather in his last moments. It was a win-win. After completing high school, she immediately enrolled at Malcolm X College to study nursing. Crystal was described as a very bright student. She loved school, and she loved information and absorbing as much of it as she possibly could. She was very passionate about education, and she spent a lot of time teaching herself new things about nursing way before she got admitted to college. When she started college, she threw herself into it. Like everything she ever did, Crystal was not the type to do something halfway. When she commits herself to something, she typically gives it her all and never stops until she gets to the finish line. Crystal already had a plan set out for when she would finish her college education. She had a plan to get a job and begin her life, unbeknownst to Crystal. That was the one time she would never get to the finish line. Halfway through her college education, Crystal met a man. The man, Elijah Clippard, was a lot older than Crystal, and she fell in love with him. He seemed knowledgeable and calm, and she was drawn to him instantly. Crystal was very happy with him. She could see a future with him. And before she knew it, she was already making plans way into the future with him. And then, overnight, just like magic, Crystal's life took a very dark turn. The day Crystal Crockett met Elijah Clippard was the day her life changed forever. But she didn't know what was coming yet, so she gave all of herself to the relationship. Crystal was the kind of person who loved quickly and deeply. I mean, she didn't do anything halfway, so it would make sense that she wouldn't love halfway either. Everything was rosy at the beginning of their relationship. Elijah was not like any other person she had ever met before. To Crystal, he was special. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he didn't hesitate to go after it. She liked that in him. She also liked that he didn't compromise on what he wanted. All of the traits she saw in Elijah, she liked. But the thing about a relationship with that much age difference, especially with how young Crystal was when she met him, is that it is easy for young women to get swept up in men like that age. They would see them as mature, confident, and self-assured. But a lot of the time, in those situations, the relationship usually turns deadly. And unfortunately for Crystal, that was the case for her and Elijah's relationship. A few months into their relationship, Crystal noticed Elijah began to change. It was very subtle at first, and he would always blame it on being tired or stressed. If she ever compared her situation to his, telling him she was working and schooling, he would snap at her. She would, of course, apologize, and they'd move on. But what started as snapping graduated in intensity every time they had a fight. And as time went on, their fights became more frequent, their relationship became very volatile, and Crystal began to fear for her life. Elijah Elijah was very particular about how he wanted things, and if she dared to step out of line, there would be consequences. At first, Crystal did not think Elijah was controlling, especially because he did not try to control her, but he did try to control their circumstance. But with time, the control extended to her, and she found that she was losing her freedom, slowly. It got to a point that if Crystal did not do what he asked, he would hurt her really badly. He would always apologize, of course, but it did not lessen the pain and heartbreak she felt every time it happened. Eventually, the apologies went away, and he just flat out controlled her. You see, Crystal had stayed with him. She loved him and wanted desperately for things to work, despite her family begging her to leave him. And because Elijah knew how much she loved him, it emboldened him to treat her badly, believing she would never. Crystal's family did everything they could to get her out of that relationship. Every time she came home with a bruise and a tailor-made excuse for why she had that bruise, they begged her, reasoned with her, but nothing worked. Crystal was in love with him. She told them he would change, but her family told her he likely wouldn't. Her family had advised her to end the relationship since they thought it was unhealthy and risky. But at that point, it was too late. Crystal had become pregnant. When she found out she was pregnant, she was beyond excited. She had always known she wanted kids, though she never planned to have them quite this early. She didn't mind. She loved the fact that she was going to have a baby. Then she found out she was going to have 2 babies, girls. Crystal was filled with a kind of joy that is indescribable, the kind only people in her shoes would know. She loved them the moment she knew of their existence and couldn't wait to meet them. There was only one problem: Elijah. At this point, they had been dating for close to a year, and the relationship was worse. He had treated her so badly that Crystal had developed a fear of him. She was terrified to do anything she wanted for fear he wouldn't like it. She couldn't go out and spend time with her friends. She could hardly see her family anymore, and the pregnancy only made it worse. Elijah got even more violent. Crystal was scared for her life, and the life of the babies she was about to bring into this world. She knew she had to protect them from him, but she was scared of what he would do if she ever left. He had threatened to do evil things to her if she ever thought about leaving him. On March 21st, 2021, about 24 weeks before their due date, Crystal Crockett gave birth to their due date. It is unclear what pushed her delivery so forward, but some people believe it might have been a result of what Elijah put her through. Although they came way earlier than planned, Crystal was thrilled to be a parent, and the moment little Isla and Italy were born, she never looked back.
Crystal was really happy to be a mom. She was super, super excited. It's like soon as she became a mom, she hit the ground running.
Crystal took care of her girls every day in the NICU. She would visit them with Elijah, and they could go back home together at the end of the day. But on the morning of June 15th, everything changed. On the morning of Tuesday, June 15th, at around 6:15 a.m., Crystal and her boyfriend, Elijah Clifford, were on their way to the hospital to see their daughters when Elijah suddenly stopped. A nearby surveillance video captures the chilling series of events that took place next. Instead of going to the hospital as planned, Elijah took a detour, parking the car in an empty lot behind an apartment complex at the 4500 block of South Wabash. What happened before Elijah pulled into that parking lot is still not known till today. No one knows the conversation that happened in the car that led to the horrific thing that happened next. The surveillance camera captured Elijah exiting the car, a firearm in his right hand. All that could be seen was that he appeared to be very agitated. He proceeded to point the firearm at Crystal's side of the car and opened fire. While he was firing at Crystal several times, he was also looking around to make sure no one could see what he was doing, but Crystal was still alive. The surveillance tape captured her opening the car door as a mountain of smoke poured out of the car, but Elijah was not done.
Hospital video showed the couple at the hospital the day before, and surveillance video shows the couple early the next morning. Clifford with a gun, shooting her several times.
Once he realized Crystal was still breathing, he proceeded to drag her to where was standing and her as he dragged her away from the vehicle. And then he proceeded to fire again, this time at close range. Elijah fired directly into the back of Crystal's head, emptying out his firearm to make sure she was dead this time. He then turned around and ran away from the horrifying scene, but not before turning around and firing one last shot into Crystal. A witness who heard shots fired quickly ran out to where Crystal was and called 911. But by the time they got there, Crystal was gone. They pronounced her dead on the scene. The surveillance footage led authorities straight to Elijah Clifford, leaving a community shocked that Crystal's life was ended by the man she loved.
We are hearing from the family of a young mother who was gunned down 3 months after giving birth to premature twins. Tonight, her boyfriend is charged with murder, and the baby girls are still in the hospital without their mother by their side.
Crystal Crockett's family was devastated upon hearing what had happened to Crystal. This was the very thing they had warned her about, the very reality they did not want to become hers, and now it was too late.
My daughter did not deserve this, and I want the killer to go to jail forever.
Crystal's family gathered at the Chicago police station to ensure the investigators were doing everything they could to catch Elijah, who had run away from the scene and was now missing. Crockett's family spoke about her, wanting everyone to know she was the best daughter and sister, and they would miss her terribly.
My daughter was a wonderful person, and I'm gonna miss her.
Crystal's family vowed to come together to raise Crystal's little girls, ensuring they never spent a moment without knowing how loved they were, especially how much their mother loved them and desperately wanted them. The grieving family members admitted that none of them had taken the time to know Elijah, as they had sensed the kind of person he was from the very beginning, so they never had any close ties to him. After weeks of searching, Elijah Clippard was found. He was seen in a CTA surveillance footage at a neighboring train station. He was subsequently arrested by the far south side of Chicago, taken into custody, and charged with the murder of Crystal Crockett, and is now being held without bond. Hey, thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you know of other similar cases? Let me know in a comment, and before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you next time, and stay safe.